That was acting, by the way. I wasn't like actually getting emotional or anything.
Today's video is about that time that I cast James Summerton in one of my videos, and the behind the scenes for some of that stuff, and also just some of the questions people have had about that bit ever since, which are understandable, but I haven't really had a place to discuss them necessarily until I got this third channel here, and was never totally sure what to do about it all, and so on. But for background, James Summerton was a queer YouTuber. He'd cover a lot of gay issues, would kind of do queer readings and so on, but also just would kind of do some like documentary style sort of historical looks at queer communities and so on. And I know, right? Some of this is gonna age. So he was a bit of an influence on me at the beginning because, in particular, I was trying to figure out when I started doing video essays like 4 years ago, like how to like find my voice in a scripted format and what kind of like style to go for. Because there are certain video essayists that I do like a lot, like H Bomber Guy and CJ the X, but they have like a particular energy that I cannot make myself do, really. Like, there's a lot of like slapstick even and weird comic timing and skits in H Bomber Guy videos, and CJ the X is this like manic energy that I can't bring myself to do. In particular, like Folding Ideas is a video about James Rolfe got into this, but there's like a particular issue with recording in front of a camera where it's like you really have to squash down a part of yourself in order to do like a bit where you're like really emotional and intense and like doing this crazy thing when I am, of course, just sitting alone in a room. Like, it's very hard to crush your self-awareness down enough to like do certain performances and so on. So like, I knew I probably wasn't going to be like a super kinetic and entertaining video essayist on like that kind of energy level. So instead I was looking for like something more subdued, and I was going to be talking in a more relaxed sort of way and just kind of hope that my script can carry things. And so like, that's a bit Folding Ideas, but Folding Ideas is intimidating and I can't match what he's doing. So I was kind of thinking more of like, how do I figure out, like, I kind of ended up like, when I made my Annihilation video finally, my first video essay, that one, I was basically actively thinking about a video that James Summerton had done recently where he was standing in like a garage or a basement among some shelves. I think he was talking about J.K. Rowling, and it was just kind of like a subdued, slightly melodramatic sounding delivery in a dark room with some lighting and so on. So I actually did, since I was talking about a horror thing and all these dark themes, I really did like talk like slow and kind of dramatic, and I tried to light myself a bit like this, but failed. The lighting was so bad that I ended up not using any of my video footage of that recording, and made it an audio only video essay where I just used footage from the movie and so on, and didn't use any of my actual camera footage because it was very bad. So like he was on my radar, and his earlier videos were really good, heavily asterisked there, because as we later learned, he was just ripping off better stuff back then. So basically at the beginning of my career on my video essay channel, I did the video about Annihilation, then I did the video about Monster Hunter. Those both got like 4,000 views each or something like that. They were not very big videos. But then I was on my really big arc of my like a 7-month-long process of trying to make this Beastars video. And that's a wild video in general. Like, I was trying to make a video that was a queer reading of Beastars, but I was doing it while I was not out of the closet as a gay guy. And I don't know what I was thinking, like how that was going to land, like how I was ever going to make that video and have it come out without coming out myself, which I did ultimately end up doing. But like, when I started that journey, I don't know what the fuck my plan was. But by the end, it was such a big event, and by the end, I had known for a few months it was going to be my coming out to my audience. And so I had this 30,000 word script, basically, and it was going to be my coming out to my audience, and it was just the most work I'd put into anything so far on all of my career of being on YouTube, which at that point I'd been doing for like, I think 11 years was back then, because I've been doing it since 2011. And so I, as a whim, I started thinking like, let's reach out to some YouTubers across the board. So I reached out to like Cass Eris and Lord Ravenscraft and a few other people. It was actually Cass that recommended reaching out to YMS because she thought it would be funny to reach out to YMS because his first son is a horse and so on. And then looking at these, like at the threshold here, I was like, okay, let's reach out to James Somerton because he's this prominent gay YouTuber, and it'd be cool to have him do some of the voices too. Because the idea just with a lot of these things is when you do these video essays, it's good to have other people voice the quotes, either in this case character quotes from the actual dialogue, but also oftentimes you're having them quote like articles and papers that you're quoting in the video and so on, and it's like it being a different voice just kind of sounds better. It's more distinct and easier to tell what's going on there instead of you having to do a voice. And I would have my friends do a lot of the voices in many cases, but like it's like a cool little thing to be like a little bit of community to like rope in outsiders to come in and say the voices. Like that's, I don't know why I'm over explaining a pretty intuitive idea, but like people feel rewarded and kind of excited when they like recognize certain voices. A lot of the bread tube space of lefty video essayists are often like a circle of people that all voice act in each other's videos. I don't know if they all have a Discord somewhere where they just like hop on and trade off lines and so on. So it just seemed like a little bit of community, like a little bit of a nod towards somebody else in the field, one of my peers and so on, and just see how it goes. So I had James voicing, of all people, Legoshi. So of all the ones to not age well, it's the guy who voiced the lead character in the entire video essay. Not everyone notices that James is voicing Legoshi in the video, but they do notice the part where I also do shout out one of his videos in a related segment, because that's also just a thing that it just feels like it's intuitive to do, like when you're being part of community and like supporting people. This is all deeply ironic because of James's own approach to community, being antithetical to that. But I was just trying to like be friendly with people. But to answer people's questions that they often have about whether or not I defend James Somerton or even know James Somerton, the answer is generally no. In fact, I basically have never had a conversation with James Somerton. When you're making certain YouTube projects, you really can just reach out to other YouTubers and see if they'll voice the stuff for you. And in many cases, they will. And that whole interaction doesn't necessarily feature you meeting them on any real level. They'd probably just look at your channel, see if you pass the sniff test or whatever their standards are or whatever what might concern them. They just do it. For example, in my more recent video about Beast Complex, I got Jesse Gender to voice some lines for some of the characters too. And it's just a bunch of people like that. And I don't know Jesse Gender. I don't really know any video essayists in general. Besides Cloud Cuckoo Country, which we did a podcast with for a bit and talked to a bit. Like that's like one of the only video essayists I've ever met where I've had a conversation with them, and Kur in the furry space. Basically everyone else I've never met, even if they've been in my line in my voice acting stuff, I don't know who they are on a more personal level. I've just seen their stuff and they asked them to do a thing and they said yes and they did it. In some cases, some said yes, but then forgot and then ghosted me and never got back to me. There's the people that made it into the video and a larger list of people I asked that did not make it into the video. I guess the other one is I know Soulmatul, the pathologic YouTuber. We've chatted on and off in a bit. We have a mutual friend and have interacted before. But most of the people in these videos are often much more distant, and I just seemed like it'd be nice to cast people that I don't necessarily know. I am, since the James Somerton incident, more hesitant to do that for obvious reasons. But anyway, the video came out in 2022, exploded. It is the loudest moment of my entire career. The video, Legoshi is Gay, a queer reading of Beastars. Almost terrifying, honestly. Like I said, the previous videos on that channel had like 4,000 views, so the fact that that one had 2,000 views in only a few weeks, or 200,000 views in only a few weeks, is already so exponentially higher than anything else that I would ever expected. So like the amount of scrutiny that video gained, the amount of takes and discourse surrounding that video, and the different directions it gets attacked under and so on, and just whoa. I put a lot of work into that video. I thought about how a lot of its presentation and its arguments and its phrasing a lot. I might have spent even more time on it if I realized it was going to get that big, because that's stressful. But then we fast forward about 2 years, and we enter a period of time where I am subscribed to James Somerton and Folding Ideas and H Bomber Guy on Patreon. I know. And this is a bit of a funny era where I don't really like James Somerton's content lately, but I kind of have just like, I'm like subscribed to a handful of people since the Legoshi video, kind of just out of like loyalty or like out of thanks, just because like that video was a big deal for me, and some people helped in little ways here and there, and some of them I still support on Patreon. My issue with James Somerton at that point was that none of his videos felt very compelling lately. Like, they didn't resonate with me emotionally. They didn't feel like they were really opening my experience about queerness and so on. And they also didn't feel like especially insightful queer readings when he was talking about gay media or stuff that could be read as gay. He had an early era where the stuff felt really solid, and then a later era where it kind of all felt like kind of a waste of time. As we would later learn, it was because this early era of James Somerton was him plagiarizing very prominent and well-crafted documentaries about queer issues, and this later era where he didn't seem like any of it was good lately was largely him hopping on trends and trying to talk about topical queer media as fast as possible, and in many cases it was just full of him summarizing the plot, and then seemingly, most likely, he's probably like plagiarizing reviews of the media or like recent takes, but like stuff that didn't necessarily have cool, comprehensive, like interesting perspectives necessarily. So basically the people he was ripping off were just, he had less interesting things to rip off at this point. He got all the really big stuff that was helpful out of the way and was now just chasing YouTube trends for attention and ripping off less interesting things just because it's whatever he could find when he Googled that thing. Seems to be the case. But didn't know that at the time, just knew that his stuff wasn't as compelling lately, and I was just kind of like not paying much attention to him. But then, and this is funny, is I was, H Bomber Guy's plagiarism video was on his Patreon, and it was 2 hours long. So it was all this stuff about Illuminati and Internet Historian and these other people that goes on for a while. It was the version that had a very long part about Illuminati that he later cut, which is why there's a all section part that's ripped out of his video and put on his second channel, because it really did drag. But I thought, okay, this is 2 hours long. This must be most of the video. It doesn't really have a conclusion exactly. It ends on the note of like, thank you for responding to my email or whatever. But I think plagiarism is plagiarism, responding to Illuminati. And then the video just ends there without necessarily a conclusion. So you had a sense that there was probably more coming. But it was 2 hours long already. So you figured it was already going to be that. And it seems like a random thing, not terribly relevant to my life or anything. That's fine. And then I go to Midwest Fur Fest that December. I'm in Chicago, surrounded by people, and I hear that the new H Bomber Guy video dropped. And I'm like, watching an H Bomber Guy video is an event for me. Like, I do like to stop and actually just go and watch it immediately whenever it comes out, but I'm in Chicago, surrounded by furries. I'm not stopping for 4 hours to watch a YouTube video in the middle of a vacation. So at first I'm just like, I'll catch it when I get back. I'm curious what changed and what the second half of the video is, since it's so long apparently. And then it slowly starts to reach me over the course of the next day that people have sat through it, obviously, because there's a whole world outside of MFF. And it's about James Somerton and how James Somerton is a plagiarist and his entire career is a sham. And basically every video he's ever made is almost entirely plagiarized directly from other people's content, shouting over those people and suppressing their careers and just being wildly unethical in a very frustrating way. And this is very disappointing. I also have some people who are mad at me because people respond to cancellations in a way where they start going after every single neighboring person, which is frustrating because as somebody who supported him on Patreon and cast him in a video and so on, I'm just as much of a victim in his lies as everyone else is. We're all people who didn't know this is what he was doing. And so it's like, it's weird to go after me for it, but I do understand that that part of my video did not age well. People that point that out, that's whatever. But people who were mad at me immediately, that was a strange response, given that he's the one who did the bad thing, and people who are adjacent to him that aren't his coworkers and aren't working with him on the videos, like, we didn't do anything. We just took somebody on face value as being honest, which is hopefully how people should go through life in general, because it's just kind of upsetting to do it otherwise. So I was very stressed out for a little while there over this, because I'm like, God damn it. And like, I'm still bummed out because like ultimately this video is my biggest accomplishment in my particular career, and it's permanently scarred a bit by this. And I can't really do anything about that because YouTube doesn't let you like re-edit videos and replace them. So I can't remove James Summerton from my video without taking the entire video down, re-editing the video, uploading a new one from scratch, and then just kind of like permanently damaging my career, unfortunately. Which I don't think is particularly necessary, because he's not like a predator or anything. He's just an intellectually dishonest, disrespectful asshole, basically. And that's disappointing. But it's like, it's not, especially now that his channel's gone, it's like I'm not really like negatively impacting people by having him in the credits or anything. But for those that don't know, yeah, on YouTube you can't really like edit a video, especially not that like surgically. I cannot like recast James Summerton's role in the voice acting with a new voice actor and replace the video. You cannot, like, I could make that video, I can render it, I can edit it. I think I still have the preserved folder of my entire project for that video unmoved, and could just change the video itself and make a new one. So if I ever get on Nebula, the version of that video on Nebula will probably feature me having recast James Summerton as somebody else, and the Nebula version will be the James Summerton free version of my Beastars video, because that's a context where I would have a reason to upload a new version of that video somewhere else. So if it ever shows up on a new platform, I'll probably recast that role so that he's not in it anymore, because I don't want him to be in it. But as far as YouTube goes, you only get one shot at having your videos exist. So when a video does well, you're kind of stuck with that video and can't touch it, because if you change things about it or try to take it down and replace it, the new video is a new video. It does not inherit the prestige and algorithmic position of the previous video. And given that everyone's already seen the previous video, the new video performs very poorly, because some people will rewatch it, and some people try to consciously support people in an intentional way, and will do that just to try to make the video do well again because they want it to. But those handful of people making intentional choices can't really compete with the algorithmic might of a video like that taking off in the first place on that scale. So it will never replace the original video. If I re-upload that video right now, I probably get like 100,000 views. Whereas the original one currently has like 1.4 million or something. It eclipses anything I've ever done, and it continues to get views. Whenever the channel gains traffic for any other reason, it then gets redirected towards people watching the Beastars video and discovering that one again and watching it even more. It's just so highly ranked on the algorithm that like it just does well in the long term. It continues to get views. People often miss this part about YouTube videos, is that YouTube videos have lifetime views. They don't just like go up, get a permanent score of how many views they have, and then like die, obviously. People watch old videos all the time, and the algorithm will continually share certain videos for years if it seems to work. And that video's in that territory. continually on any average month probably gets more new views than anything else I've uploaded that month as somebody who's actively working and making stuff all the time. That's just like the reality of that video. So if I take down the video to remove James Summerton, I'm ironically letting James Summerton hurt my career by having his behavior take down my biggest video. So like it's frustrating, but that's how the platform works. And so it's like when I think about the math here of like what's worth it or not, I'm like I just don't like the idea of my standing being harmed that much by doing that. I know there's a handful of people that be like, oh wow, it's good that you stood by your ethics or whatever. I'm like, I don't know how much that's worth in this context where like the ethics or whatever, or like it's a thing where like taking down that video would be like mostly performative, basically. Like it's not really a matter of ethics because casting him wasn't unethical. So I didn't do anything wrong in the video, and him being in the video is mostly just like a curiosity, essentially. It's like, huh, yeah, that's him. There's that guy. We didn't like, it's just not the level of accountability. It's not a thing that I feel like I have to be accountable for in that kind of way. It's just that people tend to take everything to 11 and treat it like that when it's not necessarily that kind of situation. Like, I might be more in trouble, for example, if people finally find all the bodies hidden under Toaster's house, then maybe the videos that Toaster was in might be more suspect because of all of the bodies, because he killed so many people. But in a case like this, it's just like, that guy was an asshole. That sucks. That's my thought on that overall thing. Is I think it doesn't really make sense to take down the videos and re-edit them, given the actual context of the thing. That said, wow, James Summerton was the topic of one of the largest cancellations ever, essentially. He got, like, glassed from orbit. Like, the plagiarism video about him has 37 million views last I checked. I think that the video about what he did has more viewership than his entire career on YouTube, maybe. Almost certainly. Well, not mine. I think I do have, given running a Let's Play channel for over a decade, I think I do have more than that, but it is like astronomically louder than anything I have. So I understand the amount of attention it gets because it was so high profile. I kind of felt bad for him sometimes because that is a scale of response that is not especially measured necessarily. What he did was bad, and he deserved to call it on some level because he kept doing it even after people would confront him over it. And the fact that people kept confronting him over it and he kept not doing anything about it and kept committing to it meant that he was just content to unethically plagiarize his peers' videos on a regular basis, which that just sucks. I know some people are talk about like, well, it's not very leftist to care about plagiarism because copyright or whatever. And I'm like, I get what you're going for, but I don't really agree with that entire argument because I feel like even if we're not going to call it intellectual property or copyright or whatever, there is something really disrespectful about copying your peers like that and just pretending you're not. Like, as a video essayist, I consider other video essayists my peers when they do the work, and they're also trying to do this thing. They're trying to accomplish things with their art. They have something that they want to say and put into the world, and they're willing to put in the work to say it the best that they can and do the research and be careful about their takes and everything and really like script this thing out for months. If you're entering this peer group and you're going to make content in that same field, and then you're just going to rip off everybody's content that from your own peers, like just use their words without their permission, then pass them off as your own within their line of sight. I'm just like, that is so deeply disrespectful to those people is what bothers me. It's like, it's a recurring thing with furries in the art space, is that like every now and then you find out that this or that person's been tracing other people's art. And it's like, it's not illegal, but like, we're not really talking about what's legal or illegal. Well, the problem here is that it's just so rude, and like, not just rude, but like disrespectful is the word for it, where it's like, it's degrading to the person that you find their work worth stealing, but think you can just do that in front of them where they'll see it amongst all of their peers and shared audience, and you're just going to steal from them to their face. Like, that is so fucking shitty to do in front of people. And there's an irony to this, because at the time I was self-conscious about plagiarism. I was stressing out over some of these things a bit, because I was also like, oh God, are my ideas my own or not? Like, one of my videos once featured a section where I was quoting Hank Green's novel, because Hank Green has this very self-conscious section in his novel, an absolutely remarkable thing, or it might have been A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor. It's probably that one, because this is the perspective swap, where this guy was very conscious of the idea that all of his ideas just seem to be from video essays, and sometimes he talks to other people whose ideas are also just from internet videos, and like the idea that we're just repeating what other people are saying. My first, like, two of my bigger videos were about two of my first videos were about Annihilation and Beastars. And after I made the Annihilation video, I remembered that I had already seen a folding ideas about a video about Annihilation called Annihilation and, was it Annihilation and Literacy or something? Fuck. It's a really good video. It's a very good video, not just about Annihilation, but a video that's really good about analysis in general and how YouTube treats the stuff, like in an anti-intellectual sort of way. I love that video. And I was mortified when I rediscovered it after making my Annihilation video, because I was like, oh God, did I crib from this video unknowingly? It's not plagiarism, because I'm not fucking copying it line for line. I forgot it existed. But I was like, I think that Dan Olson might have said something about the body betraying somebody, and I was like, oh no. I felt good when I talked about the body betraying her, and I'm like, did I get that phrase, get it into my brain because of Dan Olson? So I know that the video is not only longer than his, but just like me genuinely and sincerely making a video from scratch. But it's why I'm always stressed out to cover anything that I've seen anyone else cover ever, because I'm like, are my ideas my own? Like, if you ever ask me if I've seen an Echo video essay, the answer is no. I refuse to watch videos about Echo because I might cover Echo, and I just don't want to deal with whether or not my ideas came from another video essayist who talked about Echo. And on a similar level, after I made the Beastars video, well, there's even less grounds to be insecure about this because of how huge that project was, but I was like, man, what's his name? Jack Saint had already made a video about Beastars, 2 videos about Beastars, I think. They were much shorter, and not quite about the same topics, but I was like, man, I don't like this worry about whether or not my ideas are my own. So I was really excited to make my Ad Astra video, because no one has videos about Ad Astra, at least not back then, really. Not anyone I'd seen. Definitely not anyone in my particular peer group of people that I already respected and was interested in and had made a video about Ad Astra specifically, so I didn't have to worry about that. And so I could be in the clear on Ad Astra and not have to worry about anything like that. So knowing that I was holding myself to these standards and being this worried about this stuff, and that James Summerton was just fucking going gung-ho and just copying people's entire scripts into his videos and then pretending that he had written anything, was very frustrating. It was frustrating to know that I had paid him money to support this, that I had, which I had been doing somewhat out of loyalty, once again, for him just like showing up in my video, because I felt like a nice thing for him to do back then, because he did voice act in a video for a channel that at the time just had like 2 video essays that were like 4,000 views each. So it's like a nothing tiny channel. And then that video took off and went crazy. It's very frustrating to learn that he was just stealing from our peers when I was so worried that any of my ideas might have not been entirely my own, and that I was worried about being unoriginal in like a normal, relatable. I was having imposter syndrome, but he was just actually an imposter. Speaking of things you steal from people, I think that's basically a quote from the H Bomber Guy video. Like, there's a difference between having imposter syndrome and being an imposter. So that was wild. It was also very funny that this happened because, like, it was logging on to watch an H Bomber Guy video and then finding out that it was, like, indirectly a little bit about me. You don't expect to be related to the topics of the videos you're watching. So, like, finding out that, like, oh god, this is blowing back on me a bit because I've interacted with this person before, was not the expected twist you expect to have when you watch what is functionally like a 4-hour drama video. It's happened a few times. Like, I remember watching ContraPoints discussed Jordy Jordan, Wings of Redemption, and I'm like, I've met that person actually. I've talked to him for a few hours before. Somewhat strange person, don't really get his vibe, but he just seems really depressed and in a bad place in general, and that seems to explain a lot of what he's gone through, and he's become like a lol cow, and that's all like really dark, honestly. But he's not like, he invites some of it, and that's a bummer too. That's just that the thing's a whole mess. Like, that's a moment where stuff's like, I'm like, oh shit, this isn't just online random content. This is like stuff that I have insight on, which is weird. And then amusingly, I've like got like a fake grudge against H Bomber Guy's Patreon content now, because not only was that video secretly about James Summerton, just like a few months earlier than that, he made a video about Myst when I was making a video about Myst, and it kind of deflated my sales a bit to be like, oh man, I thought I was going to make a special, unique thing, but then he made a video about Myst, and now it's kind of like not as special anymore. He did talk about different stuff, so I'll probably still make the Myst video at some point, because he didn't cover what I was going to talk about. But I also kind of honestly just like, I have so much research and media to go through for that video that I would kind of put on the back burner to try to take on easier topics. But it's been a weird experience. This is me being a bit narcissistic, because these videos are not literally about me, but the fact that like I'm trying to make stuff in this space and stuff adjacent, either the same topics I'm working on come up, or people that I've interacted with become the topics of videos, has been like a somewhat entertaining, strange, weird experience. It's just weird to not have 100% an impermeable barrier between you and the thing you're watching. Like, you're used to stuff that you're watching being so separate from you that having it be relevant to your life in some way is like, hang on a minute, no, don't do this. Blah. But while I did feel bad about the sheer scale of the outrage towards James Summerton, just because that's like, on some level, like, I can't help but empathetically be like, that is a lot to have coming at one person. That is a huge scale thing. I think on some level, people were a little worried that something might happen there. And it's like, it's hard because like, I'm conscious of the fact that there's like no way to be proportional on the internet. Any kind of call out of any kind of injustice at a particular person, or attempt to make somebody accountable for their actions, gets so out of proportion so quickly all the time. It happens on Twitter, it happens on YouTube. There's not really measured ways to do this, but one, people did already try to confront James multiple times over what he did, and he was not taking responsibility for it, and he was continuing to do it. So people did try to exhaust their other options with it. And at that point, I guess you just like have to let it keep happening, or you do the call out. And then once it happens, it's like, you can't control how viral a particular Twitter thread or YouTube video will go. And that one got really big. And my sympathy for, honestly, I don't remember if empathy or sympathy is the right words to use between these two terms. I mix them up all the time. But like, my sympathy for James's situation, which was like the volume of the backlash, because I just feel like that's a lot. And I feel like they're, at that point, he's probably going through a lot, and he's probably very stressed out. And like, it, as somebody who's been the target of like online controversies before, and have people be mad at me for, frankly, strange reason sometimes. It's extremely stressful to have any kind of group of people that's after you. If you have any kind of like rejection sensitivity dysphoria or any level of like anxiety there, it can feel like you're genuinely under attack. So I was like a bit worried just on a human level what he might be going through, because there's a certain level of potential harassment that just isn't like proportional to the original crime, if you know what I mean. Like when you're not if you're not actively like harming people and whatnot. That's my issue with a lot of call outs online, and why as much as people try to get me to, I don't really ever do call outs on social media of individual people. And that's because I just see it as a chance of encouraging a form of harassment that I've been on the receiving end of before. And in many cases, that harassment is just not proportional to the original crime. Like I think about like how people reacted to ContraPoints that one time where she cast Buck Angel in a video, and there's a lot of reason to criticize that, and there's a whole mess to unpack about that whole thing, but it turned into a giant mob of people harassing somebody and trying to socially isolate them by getting all of their friends to dump them and to harm this person, and like pitchforks out in an almost literal sense to take these people down one by one, and then cheering about the idea of hunting down her peers afterwards for not even discernible reasons at that point. It's just like a mob of people that just loves drama and hatred and going aggro on people. And I remember that like it's one thing for James Summerton's peers to be mad at him, and his own Patreon supporters should feel betrayed by him, which I did. But there's a lot of third parties that don't have any investment in this topic, that are just hungry for blood and drama. And I've learned that about social media in general, and just want to hurt somebody, and have the justified target for doing that, for acting that way against. And I've been that outlet for people before, and it's a very painful experience to have people going after you and not really caring what you say or what your perspective is or why you said what they think you said or what the conversation is even about. Because in many cases, these people don't really care who you are. They don't even know what your content is or what your personality is, and they didn't even know who you were until this outrage happened. And so they're just believing that narrative whole cloth and they're taking that and running with it and going way further than they ever really should, given the original offense. It just gets really weird and upsetting really quickly. And I might even be in trouble for doing this video because for talking about ContraPoints and people that have like very aggro perspectives on that particular topic will think that I'm forgiving something insane when I'm just talking about like the proportionality of these punishments and the way this stuff works, and then the way there's no way to reel it in or control how the public responds to these kinds of things. So on that level, I was worried for him a little bit just as a person. I also noticed a lot of people are going after him for his weight and stuff like that. And I'm like, see, y'all are just hateful people. Like, you're just going after somebody who I know has body image issues. I could tell that from his content. And you're attacking him on that perspective. And that's not related to any of the things he did wrong. And not only are you using it as an excuse to attack somebody for a thing that they can't quite control and isn't related to their crimes, it's going to bounce back on a lot of people nearby who you're also describing when you describe his body image issues and you make fun of his hair and his clothes and things like that. There's a lot of people around you that have body image issues that are going to feel attacked and included in your criticism of him here, because you're not focusing on his crime. You're just being cruel. Like, it's an ugliness that I don't like to engage with, and it bums me out. But James Summerton really killed my sympathy when he then proceeded to there's a lot he did. He blamed Jessie Gender for harassment, which seemed bizarre and out of step, because she does not really mobilize harassment against people in general. But then he also faked his own death. he pretended to commit suicide, and then for like a really upsetting 24 to 48 hours, there was a lot of people like out for blood, blaming H Bomber Guy for killing a fellow YouTuber. But then Glitter found his co-writer, James Summerton's co-writer, Nick, I think his name was, just sort of was like, haha, no, he's fine. Just don't worry about it, guys. He's just being dramatic or whatever. He just outed the fact that James Summerton had faked this and he was fine, and this is all bullshit. So James Summerton faked his own suicide to get back at the people that were outing his behavior, which he had the warning for because they had already talked to him about his behavior, and he repeatedly refused to stop what he was doing, which he had to know was wrong at that point. In fact, he silenced those people by accusing them of harassment back in the day, and they kept doing that. And like, it was a pattern of behavior, I would have liked to have been aware of, so I could have not cast him in my video. To be clear, from my perspective, not knowing, because I'm not in these circles, these are not my peers, they're not my personal friends. I don't know what they're talking about or what their plans are, so I didn't know about all this James Summerton stuff. I vaguely knew that a few videos were missing, but I couldn't tell if it was like I misremembered that he made the videos or somebody else made them, or if he was doing that YouTuber thing where you change the thumbnail and title over time to try to find a new audience with videos, or if they got taken down for copyright, which happens all the time because you're uploading movie clips and that can get the video taken down. That happens all the time. So I didn't think much of it because this is a cloud of videos where it's like this is existing in an ecosystem alongside Lindsay Ellis and everyone else. I don't know why I'm having trouble listing people all of a sudden. Jenny Nicholson. I was trying to think of Jenny Nicholson, just like forgot her name for a second there. Like you just all these people making monthly videos, so you don't think too much about it if you can't find a specific old video from an old YouTuber, because you might just be misremembering it, or it might be down for some reason. They might not like it anymore. So I was vaguely aware of that, but didn't think much of it. And the controversies just weren't that public. And that was partly because he successfully mobilized people, apparently, his audience against these people to silence them whenever they would call him out. So that's just horrible behavior. I was not privy to that. I only vaguely saw one time where it seemed like Dan Olson was being aggro against James Summerton on Twitter about his Patreon graph. And I didn't really get what was going on there. And it just seemed like Dan Olson is just aggro sometimes on Twitter. Nowadays, I'm realizing it's probably because he's privy to something in their like behind the scenes stuff where they're discussing that particular person, and he's probably lashing out a little bit in a way that's kind of revealing where something might be going. And that when certain YouTubers vague tweet about certain other YouTubers, they might be working on a fucking takedown, apparently. Ruthless. I do not want to engage with the space. That is so stressful to think about, being tuned into like drama YouTube and so on as a concept. But yeah, no, I would have loved to know that all this shit was going down. It's very frustrating that he did what he did. He rebranded his YouTube channel from James Summerton to James of Telos from Telos Pictures, because that was supposed to be the film studio he was making that kept not making videos. And he uploaded a series of videos because Nick deserves to see his work seen, and then faked his suicide. And then not only was his suicide fake, those new videos that he uploaded that were supposed to be his posthumous videos were also plagiarized. So he still uploaded more plagiarized videos after the fucking even after being called out for the plagiarism, he did it again. It's like, fuck off, man. Just fuck off at that point. Like, I cannot believe he really tried to claw back any kind of career from this, but you just cannot. When you do that much damage for that long, not only are you showing that you're unrepentant of your behavior, you're also showing you don't really have anything creatively to offer the world, because your whole body of work, the whole reason anyone liked you was just fake. no one actually liked you for you or what you had to say or what you had to bring to the world. They just liked you for the other people's words that you were stealing for so long. That is all very, very frustrating. This video's already gotten longer. It's kind of more rambling than I meant for it to be. My bad. But I do still have my original project folder right here. Look at all this. Look at this fucking nightmare folder. This is me working on the Legoshi is gay video. I had individual chapter Vegas files for all this stuff because I thought that I needed to work on all these individual... sorry, that sentence got away from me. Vegas will, when you make this much editing and put this many video files and things into your documents and so on, it'll start freaking out and just running like shit. At least the version that I'm running on. So I kept having to make a separate project for every like 15 minutes or 20 minutes of the video, and then I would, when I was done with the whole thing, combine them into one big video. But yeah, I still have stuff in here. Like I have these unused slides where I was like, oh wow, there's like, you know, it was like, it's really deep when you think about it. It's like, that's like what Legoshi feels like, but that's what he looks like from an outside, which kind of speaks to like a thing about masculinity that is a different video than the one I ultimately made. That like a side tangent that I thought would be an extra video, and then I didn't end up making it. It's just kind of a bunch of random nonsense in here. There's just a funny meme that I've liked to use from the opening evil Legoshi spirit thing when it wants him to eat people. Got a whole bunch of stuff in here. The original dupe, the panel, and then like the Rizzo the rat version that I had Beardly Ben draw for the video. Technically my first furry commission was this dumb Beastars parody and whatnot. But yeah, like all these individual chapters are just full of like all the different clips that make up every single thing, because I was like, I don't know how to navigate and organize this stuff. I've had different approaches for each video essay, but in this one I was doing it by chapter, so I would at least know where to look for the thing that I was looking for. But as a result, I should still have the voice acting in here. So I still have all of the voice actors from throughout the video that I cast, all sort of separated. So it's first it's the name of the character or the article, and then it's the YouTuber or friend that voice acted each one. So I do still have this unheard James Summerton voice acting over here, which is funny.
I'm a dirty wolf who just had a sexy dream about Haru, which means I'm still full of earthly desires. I'm powerless over my own primal urges.
These attempts to, like, you know, just do a bunch of takes and help me out here. And the way you do this is you really do just like, you prepare your document full of lines and you email some people and see if they get back to you and see if they'll help you out.
Let's go.
There is this little human moment in here that is about, I remember I felt really bad here for having him read this part, actually. It's the part where Legoshi is in the arms of his mother in the last time he ever saw her.
Held in my feelings, if I'd turned to look at you, I might have been able to stop you from killing yourself.
Like, over the course of these takes, he does sound, like, sad and, like, a little bit like he's almost actually crying, and he has this little clarification here where he's like...
That was acting, by the way. I wasn't, like, actually getting emotional or anything.
It's like, that was reassuring to me, because I remember it was only after I had already cast him in the role that I realized James Summerton's mother had died the year before, and Legoshi has this upsetting arc about his dead mother, and I had him read lines about the dead mother, and I'm like, oh, hang on a minute. Fuck. But he was all right with it. I specifically got back to him about, like, by the way, this is going to happen in these lines, and it's okay if you don't want to do it. I can have somebody else do it. Like, this might not be fun. And it's like, yeah, it's like, I don't know. I guess that slight human connection makes me slightly more hesitant about the sheer level of the backlash. But it's like, at the end of the day, just motherfucker just didn't stop doing the bad thing when he knew not to do the bad thing. So it's like, what do you do, man? It's frustrating that people people can show you their humanity, but that doesn't mean that they're going to behave better, or it doesn't mean that they're not capable of just garbage behavior. But I do have one stupid bit of trivia to come out of all this. So this is a frankly embarrassing email that I sent to somebody that I was trying to cast as a voice actor, titled "Coming Out as a Gay Furry via 2-hour video Beastars video essay and looking for a leftist voice actors to enable me," which is an energy you can bring via email. It's funny that I thought it was going to be a 2-hour video still. And I signed off with "distressingly Keith Ballard." It's sort of I hate sending emails. I overthink everything about how to engage with people and so on, and I regret every email I send and how I present myself. Here I think I was trying to bring a slightly like manic energy to this, or something like being a YouTuber with a certain personality and so that. And it's because the recipient of this email, who did not get back to me and is not in the video, but would have been cast opposite James Somerton, I sent this email to H Bomber Guy trying to cast him in the video. So something could have played out. Either A, I would have had a video where I cast H Bomber Guy and James Somerton opposite each other, and that would have aged extremely funnily in a few years, without knowing. Or B, I might have found out about James Somerton a lot sooner if somebody got back to me over this and had told me the situation and maybe discouraged me from casting him in my video and shouting him out. I don't know. All I know is this particular email went nowhere, which is not uncommon. A bunch of them did anyway, and I was a small channel and nobody knew who I was. So a lot of people are not willing to like lend their video to a stranger that they don't know as a peer and so on. But I'm just I get it. The story is not about me. This is just me responding to the particular perspective of being adjacent to the stuff and having people ask me about it and sometimes accuse me of stuff over it and so on. But I'm like, I can't believe that I specifically tried to cast H Bomber Guy and James Somerton as like two prominent queer video essayists for my video. And could you imagine if these two were cast opposite each other, and then 2 years later the fucking Beastars video came out, or the fucking Plagiarism video came out? Like, imagine I would have gone from that didn't age well to I don't know what you even call it at that point. That's hysterical. That's what a fucking bizarre thing to have them in the same thing as each other. I don't know. I don't have a conclusion at the end of this one. I've been rambling for a bit. These aren't great videos sometimes because I have a bunch of ideas, but then I take various breaks in the middle where I'm like, okay, we need to reorient to this topic and so on. And then by the end, I'm like, I don't really fully know what the entirety of this was. I would love to be writing these and not just going off the top of my head, but then I would never make another video essay again because I'd be trying to write these fucking rambles. They'd be shorter. They'd be more organized. But anyway, I've been sitting on this for a while. Just this strange event. But yeah, at the end of the day, just, man, fuck James Somerton. It's very annoying that any of this happened. A lot of us are really bummed out that we supported him. Please support everybody else that he took part, that he took his stuff from. It's very cool that H Bomber Guy has been very dedicated to the process of taking all the money that video made and rerouting it to the various people that James Somerton ripped off. At least there's that. That's some good that can come of this. In fact, it might be more support than almost any of those people were likely to get from their original writing, given that many of them were just mostly small-time publications on like various blogs and so on. So I guess some silver lining there. That's clearly been a logistical nightmare because Bomber Guy has not made a full video for like a year and a half now. So both channels have been functionally dead since that video dropped. Wild. I will continue to do everything in my power to never be the subject of somebody else's video, because that would be deeply stressful. And so the best defense against that is to never pull this kind of bullshit, obviously. Thanks for watching like always, guys, and I will see you next time.